I'm going to talk in a minute about RFK Jr.'s testimony before the Senate yesterday. It's Friday, September 5th. And I'm going to talk about Louisiana Senator Bill Cassidy, who is largely responsible uh, for RFK Jr. being in this position as our Secretary of Health, Secretary of National Institutes of Health for the United States of America, despite having no medical training whatsoever. But I wanted to recap a few things about RFK Jr. He loves steroids. Um, he loves roadkill. He found a dead baby bear cub one time and took it home and drove around with it and carried it around like it was his little buddy or something before ditching it in Central Park in Manhattan with a bicycle. Um, there was another story about a family vacation when his kids were younger. They were at the ocean and there was a beach, a beach, and a whale had beached itself and died. And RFK Jr. cut the head off of that whale with a chainsaw and strapped it to the roof of the family's minivan or whatever, much like Mitt Romney did with his dog when they went on a family vacation, put the dog in a kennel and strapped it to the roof of their car. But so it's like there's this dead whale head on top of their minivan and they're driving around, presumably in the summertime. And all the juices and the fluids from this dead whale head start coming into the cab, the passenger compartment of the minivan, and everybody who's inside gets covered with dead whale head juice on your family vacation. So he's a well-known and very well-documented adulterer. He cheated on his first wife so many times that just during 1 year, he kept a journal of all the times that he cheated on his first wife and drove her to suicide. She killed herself after being married to RFK Jr. and his adultery. She killed herself. And, you know, the arrangements that she had made before she died, basically it was like, you can bury me anywhere you want to, but just don't bury me in this one place over here. So they have the funeral, they bury her. And then later on, RFK Jr. has her body dug up and buried in that one place over there where she did not want to be buried. And so, you know, read into that what you want to. And so earlier this year, so he's a lunatic. He he tried to get rid of the COVID vaccine during COVID. He was the lawyer for or in charge of some organization about defending children's health or some shit, and filed a bunch of lawsuits to try to take away COVID vaccines from kids during COVID because, you know, they make you magnetic. And there's Bill Gates had his 5G chips in there. All the same dumb shit that the MAGA inbred fart huffing Gomers believe. And so during his confirmation process, when he testified during his confirmation process, he was pretty deferential. He was pretty deferential and non-inflammatory to the senators who were questioning him. And he did that, you know, in a way so that Republican senators could be like, yeah, he's fine. He said he's not going to do any of these things. He's not going to do what you think he's going to do. He said he's not going to do it. It's going to be fine. And they confirmed him on a 52-48 vote. But during that confirmation process, Senator Bill Cassidy, a physician from Louisiana, a Republican, who's already in a tough spot because he voted to convict Donald Trump in one of the impeachment trials back in 2020 or 2021. I think it was the second one about the insurrection. So, and Bill Cassidy's up for reelection next year. And so he knows he's in a tight spot because he voted to convict Donald Trump in an impeachment trial, and he's running for reelection in Louisiana. I would stop short of describing the Republican voters in Louisiana as, like some kind of an Algonquin roundtable of intellectualism. I think we're going to fall far short of that kind of description for Republican voters in Louisiana. And so he's already on thin ice. And so I guarantee you he wanted desperately to vote against RFK Jr.'s confirmation as Secretary of Health. But he couldn't. He couldn't do it because he's a physician. He knows that this man is a crazy person who shouldn't be within 100 miles of the federal healthcare infrastructure of the United States of America. But he wants to be reelected more than he cares about, how many Americans is RFK Jr. going to kill, because that number is not going to be zero. So he voted to confirm him. But during that confirmation hearing, Bill Cassidy was like, I have some questions for you, sir. And his questions largely centered around vaccines and the Vaccine Advisory Committee of vaccine experts. And he got RFK Jr. to swear that he will work with the Vaccine Advisory Committee and he will not screw with them at all. It's full of legitimate vaccine experts, and they advise the government on vaccine policy. Earlier this year, RFK Jr. fired every single person on that committee and replaced them with a bunch of anti-vaccine kooks like Robert Malone. And so yesterday was round two. And it was the first time that RFK Jr. had appeared before the Senate since his confirmation hearings. And in the interim, he has done all of the things that he has done. And Bill Cassidy, well, first of all, RFK Jr. just took the mask off yesterday with his testimony. There is no mystery left. He went into that Senate committee like this. Good morning, senators. Good morning. Good morning. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Yeah, that's right. You're not going to do jack shit. That was his attitude yesterday. He was defiant. He was arrogant. As always, he was incredibly stupid and uninformed about, like actual information, data, and science. But he just didn't give two shits what these senators think of him, what they had to say to him. He was combative, snotty, and arrogant. And it was kind of, under different circumstances, it would have been amusing. I mean, Senator Bill Cassidy was like, do you believe that Donald Trump deserves a Nobel Peace Prize for Operation Warp Speed, which gave us the COVID vaccine? And knowing that a Nobel Peace Prize is the only thing that matters to Donald Trump, RFK Jr. said, yes, absolutely. And then Bill Cassidy was like, but you just said that the COVID vaccine killed more people than COVID. I never said that. I never said that. He did say that. And, it was just, and he demonstrated that that RFK Jr. is effectively denying people access to the COVID vaccine now. And it was reported earlier this week that they're going to yank it off the market altogether. As we're heading into the fall and the winter with COVID, which is spreading like crazy out there already. I have 4 or 5 friends who have COVID right now in early September. But it was such a mask off moment, I think, for both of them, Cassidy and Kennedy. Because Kennedy was just like, fuck you guys. I'm having a field day over here and there's nothing you can do to stop me. And it was a mask off moment for Cassidy because it's like, Louisiana is one of the poorest states in the country. It's got some of the worst healthcare in this country. And it's full of people who, I think, and no offense to people who live there, but Republican voters in Louisiana have to be some of the stupidest people in this entire country. And they're still fully on board with Trump. Trump won by a big margin in Louisiana. And imagine being Bill Cassidy trying to run for re-election